Welcome home, Raiders! This week, Legion Alpha is back online, and we have the updates. And the next ESPN of eSports is here, and it's ESPN. This is Convert to Raid number 207.
You're listening to Convert to Raid, the podcast for raiders in the world of Warcraft.
Trade Podcast Power Station in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Today is January 19th, 2016, and it is now 9:09 p.m. Central Time, and thanks for joining us from all around World of Warcraft land. Hello, my name is Pat Crane. I am your host of this little WoW show that we do, and as always, the players are here, so let's get to them. First up from somewhere in the midst of traffic somewhere in California, probably. It's Dairies!
No, not traffic today. I made sure to get home early again today.
Look at you. It's like you're turning pro.
It's mostly just because I miss you. And we went 2 weeks without a show.
Yeah. It was a tough time. It was a tough time for everybody.
It was really hard.
Yeah, it was difficult. And let's go to our man from LOS, Line of Sight Gaming. I'll say it that way. Then people won't say Los Gaming. Line of Sight Gaming.
They'll say it.
They'll say it anyway. It's Tovo. Hey, buddy.
Hey, it seems like a year since I've been here.
It was
really having me back. Yeah.
It was 2015, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Probably was.
Yeah, that's it. Show's over.
And from Stormcast and the Starting Zone and a bunch of other Spazbot Studios stuff, it is our buddy Mick Montgomery. Hello, sir.
Hello. Hey, guys. You know what? I read today that 5 out of 4 people admit that they're bad with fractions.
Yeah.
5 out of 4 people.
Yeah. No, I got it.
Okay.
I just don't want it.
All right. Totally fine. You don't have to take it.
Right.
But some people will.
That's right. Hi, everybody. Always horrible. Thanks.
It
Mick.
is. You're welcome. I worked all day trying to be off.
Sitting in traffic.
That's right. That's good. Awesome. Welcome back to the show, fellas, and welcome back everybody out there. We took a hiatus last week. As you probably realize, if you have us on your RSS feed, we did a little show about Star Wars that we threw into the feed. It was Mick and Shark, myself, and Jules, and that was a fun show, I thought. And
yeah,
so, hopefully everybody enjoyed it. And I know that we didn't talk about nearly as much stuff as we wanted to, but you got to call it at some point. We could have talked probably for like 3 hours on that thing.
Yeah,
so
it was. There's a lot of stuff in that movie.
You think?
A lot of things. There's a lot of things in that movie that people want to talk about.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, let's talk a little bit about WoW and other Blizzard games, and we'll talk about eSports again this week and all sorts of other stuff. But first, let's chat about what we've been up to. Other than the Alpha is back, like I was talking about, but other than the Legion Alpha, what have you guys been doing? And Dairies, let's start with you.
Legion Alpha.
Yeah. Don't get too deep into that, though.
Yeah, that's it. So I've been playing my Druid still some more. I don't know why. I'm just grinding out the shipyard missions on that for some reason.
Awesome.
And I played quite a bit of Diablo the last couple of days.
Yeah.
Playing the new patch and the new season, everything like that. Playing a hardcore character with Tovo.
Oh, going hardcore.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. He power leveled me to level 70. It took 15, 20 minutes or however long it took. And then I think I'm like Paragon 70 at this point. I'm not very high, but yeah, I'm enjoying it.
Wow.
For now. I'll probably forget about it by next week like everyone else does.
Right. Well, so you've got that, and then the Alpha is back, and anything else as far as were you guys doing moose mounts this week?
We did not do a moose mount this week.
Okay.
We blamed the lack of emails and invites on Diablo.
Makes sense. Tovo, how about you, man? Obviously Diablo.
Other than the alpha, yeah. So I've been playing World of Garrison whenever I wasn't playing the alpha, and then Diablo. So last season, was the first time I really played softcore in a hardcore way.
Whoa!
And the thing about the two different modes is softcore is way more competitive. It's way more hardcore, if you want to look at it that way, because the people don't sleep.
Sure.
They'll play 20 hours a day, and it's just all season long for 3 months straight. And there's just no way you can match that. On hardcore, you have a couple different factors. People on the top of the leaderboards die. They lose all their best gear. And it's a way more, for me, it's a way more casual friendly and a way to sort of limit my addiction with Diablo. So I've been, doing that and playing with a lot of CTR folks, Dairies, for the first time, which was interesting. Knew nothing about Diablo.
Well,
interesting. What? No,
yeah.
Hey, man, don't let that bitterness show
I've
through
played
too
for
much.
5 minutes and I haven't got a piece of gear. What do I do?
it was 6 minutes.
So yeah, no, that's what I've been up to, and it's been a lot of fun.
I like
Yeah,
it. So
this season's great.
hardcore is actually better for more casual play.
I feel like that argument can be made.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. Mick, how about you, buddy?
Well, a lot of hero stuff this week. I have been disproving folks, at least proving people wrong, that it is not Dibbles Lord of Tickles. It is still Diablo Lord of Terror. And I have been riding the Red Monster all the way up a couple more ranks in rank play. So it's been a lot of fun playing some Diablo and playing a little bit against the meta. Although some folks would argue that Diablo's coming back, but he's been really strong for me lately. And then, of course, Greymane came out this week, so I played a fair amount of that, which is that is a character, I think, who has earned his hard rating in Heroes. He's definitely interesting. I think there are definitely two distinct builds for him, which makes him fun. But mastering the ins and outs of going Worgen to human, so basically going from range to melee, that is really, there's a lot of depth into that play style. And I think over time, a lot of folks don't think he's going to make it too far in competitive play, but I do think over time, there's going to be some interesting synergy stuff with that for sure.
Right. Gotcha. I know that I've been playing my Hunter a lot this week. I've been enjoying it just in the live game, just kind of, hanging out playing Hunter. It kind of brings me back to my roots when I leveled up my Hunter for the first time.
Oh, I thought you were going to make a druid tree form joke.
No, not going to do that. But let's let's move it along. We've got a bunch of stuff to talk about this week. I mean, we've got a bunch of stuff to talk about. A little quick housekeeping though for everybody out there. One thing that I want to mention is that it is the 3-year anniversary of the CtR Guild this week. So big applause to everybody that's a part of the CtR Guild. And we are actually going to be celebrating all week long. We've already kicked off a bunch of events, and later this week we'll be doing an LFR takeover with myself and Jules, and there's a pet battle tournament. There's going to be a Hearthstone tournament, Heroes of the Storm. Gizmo is going to be hosting some Heroes of the Storm play, and there's transmog runs and different raids and a whole bunch of stuff. So if you're interested, if you're a part of the guild, that's great. Even if you're not a part of the guild but play Alliance, we could probably invite you along. Check out guild.converttoraid.com for the calendar and more information and stuff like that. So
has it been 3 years? Has it been 3 years?
It's been 3 years. 3 years today, actually. Today is the 3rd year anniversary, which is weird. And that was a very hectic time. The first like few months were extremely hectic.
Talk about growing pains.
Yeah. Yep, exactly. And so we figured what a better way to celebrate the 3rd anniversary by also talking about Discord a little bit. Right, Dairies?
Yeah.
What is Discord, and what the heck is this thing? Because we want to bring people into our Discord. What's that?
So for a long time, Pat and Jules and I and other people of the CTR community have been trying to figure out a way to kind of branch CTR outside of WoW. Not saying we want to create guilds and other games or anything like that, but we want a way for people to communicate that's outside our forums maybe. And a lot of people have been using GroupMe, the app on your phone and things like that. But that's hard to manage, and we wanted something a little bit better. So I found this app months ago called Discord. And it's basically a combination between Mumble, which we already use for the guild, and something like GroupMe or Guild Chat. It allows you to chat and have all these different rooms to talk about different topics. It allows us moderation of things, but it also does voice chat the exact same way that, say, Mumble would. And we've had a server up for a month or two now. We've had some members of the CTR community in there, and it's been going well, but we wanted to open it up to everyone.
Right.
And if you want to come join the conversation and hang out with us, it's discord.converttoraid.com. It's Discord, discord.converttoraid.com. And they have a app for Android, iOS. They have a desktop app for Windows and Mac. You can use it through the browser any way you want. And I think it's going to be a really good way for us to all stay connected. It's got really good game integration. It's a lot of fun, and there's a lot of good conversation over there. So
Yeah, that's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. And I don't care if you're in the EU, even though I can't play with you. I mean, you could still join in on the conversations over there and stuff like that. So that's cool. And it's just a great way to stay in touch with everybody. So join in if you wish. There we have it. Also, one more thing. I want to welcome a new community manager over at Blizzard. It's is it Ornix? Is that how you pronounce it? I think that's the way you pronounce it. It's Ornix. So Ornix, welcome to the community manager position over at Blizzard. Apparently he has an extensive background with WoW, which is awesome, and looking forward to seeing what's going on in that area, because I know that they needed somebody over there.
Desperately.
Desperately. All right. What's that?
I was going to say, I had heard blood was shed. I had heard some blood was shed recently. So they need
really?
somebody in there to a little bit.
All right. Well, let's move on to some raiding news.
Calling all raiders from around World of Warcraft land. This is raiding news.
All right, it's time to check out what's happening in the news for raiders around the World of Warcrafts. And first up, like we were talking about, Legion Alpha is back online. And for that, another big applause, because I think we're all kind of excited about that. And they brought a bunch of new stuff to this build, which is really great. We have the tanky Demon Hunter, Vengeance Spec, Guardian and Resto Druid, Marks Hunter, Disc Priest, Dairies. I'm sure you're excited about that. And we also have Alien Enhancement Shaman that are available, plus all the other ones, plus the class hall, plus there's a new dungeon, plus there's a new zone, all sorts of stuff. So let's just kind of talk about our experiences briefly and kind of what we've been doing. And Dairies, you and your cat were both playing Disc. Is this correct?
Yeah, I've been playing Disc since it went. You can go over here now. Since the alpha went back up. I've done. I've leveled up to 103, I think now. So I've done quite a bit of leveling with Disc. I've done each of the dungeons a couple times with Tovo and with Uzug and with Tatva and a few others. So I've done quite a bit with Disc. The artifact weapon, I've got almost 10 or 15 talent ranks, I guess, into that. So yeah, I've been playing it quite a bit, and I am loving it. I think they've done an amazing job with Disc. It is the changes they need to make. It's big changes, but it is a lot of fun. Especially with we were doing the dungeons and Tatva was tanking, and I mean, he's the worst tank I've ever seen. So it was really exciting.
He wasn't the worst. I mean, he wasn't the worst tank that I saw that night, actually, because one guy was on a Guardian Druid. He probably shouldn't have been. And then Tatva came in, and he was doing his job, man. That's all that matters.
No, he did a good job. It's just I think Disc Priests are not going to be very good single target healers. like they are now. They're very good at shielding one target so they don't take any damage, and then even penance to heal them back up, things like that. The way Atonement works now is it's not going to be as easy to heal one person, but as far as raid healing, they're going to be very, very good at that.
Cool.
So I think they're in a really good spot. It's a really good change.
But for those dungeons, I mean, it got a little dicey every once in a while. So
yeah, it's most people hovered at like 50%, 40% health because it's very hard for me to, as a disc priest, it's very hard for you to quickly heal up one person. Disc priests don't have heals anymore. You have a tiny little heal, but it's not very mana efficient. It doesn't heal for very much. Penance no longer heals. You have to, if you want it to, you have to talent into it, and it doesn't do very much. So it's much more about just pumping out the damage in order to get the healing up.
I'm thinking the more that I'm hearing about this, the more I'm thinking that maybe I should stay Resto Druid and just go up against you, because I think that I might have a shot now.
Yeah, I think hot classes are going to complement Disc Priests very well now, because Disc Priests are not going to be preventing a whole lot of damage. It's still maybe 20% of what they do, but
sure.
It's a lot more healing now through Atonement. It's a lot more kind of triage healing, kind of like a Druid would do. The big heal that they do have, it heals for a whole bunch, but also does half of what it healed in damage back to that person over 10 seconds. So like a Resto Druid would be really good at kind of keeping that person topped. If the Disc Priest was healing, it's just in a really, really good spot right now. There's still a few things that are a little broken, but for the most part, it's in a really good spot.
Cool. And Tovo, you were playing Marks, right? For the most part?
Yeah. Recently, since it came back, the only spec I've been playing at all has been the Marks Hunter. I know Dairies likes Disc, but the rest of his group was a little unnerved with him playing Disc. I was constantly like worried I'd have to blow my heel or whatever, just to keep myself alive. But so we went in the dungeons. The first time I'd seen any of the dungeons was with you guys. Mm-hmm. So I mean, that night I think we ran them twice, a little bit later, whenever Tack got back. But so a couple things about the Marksman Hunter that have changed for me is with the current tier 18 set that we have in game right now, it makes your aim shots instant. Every time someone first gets that set, it feels amazing, because they were hard casting aim shots throughout the whole time until you got the 4-piece. But now they're going back to aim shots are still being cast in the alpha. But the difference is you have to be standing still. So you lose your mobility, a little bit more mobility than you currently have. You're still pretty mobile because everything else, I'm pretty sure everything else, I'll have to take a look at it again, but I'm pretty sure everything else is cast on the move. Your generator is no longer cast. It's an instant. The arcane shot is now brought back to be an instant generator. It feels really good with that. I really like that change. One thing that people are really worried about is that Marksman no longer has a pet. You have no option to get a pet except for your last talent. It's called Dark Ranger. And what it says is your attacks now have a chance to summon a dark minion, which they alternate. I was testing it out a little bit, and they sort of alternate between like skeletal or undead pets. They randomly come out. And the dark minion will taunt and attack your current target. So that's going to be something that people are going to be using while they're soloing out in the world, because you're going to be out in the world a lot with a lot of the different things, the changes that they're making with the game. One thing, the way it's implemented now, it feels kind of weak. It procs immediately as soon as you do your first attack. So it takes that burst damage, and its taunt like overwhelms that burst damage that you do, because you're very, very bursty on Marksman. But then if you're killing it quickly, if you attack another mob a few seconds after you've killed that one, you're not going to have that pet up again. It must be like it seems like it's a 1 minute internal cooldown or something. Maybe it's 45 seconds or something, but it's not fast enough right now to almost seem worth it, because you're killing them so quickly anyway. You have a heal,
sure.
You have a lot of kiting abilities. Your range is huge, so. It's nice, but it's something that people probably use while they're leveling up. So.
It's probably kind of like, elemental shaman, or, probably kind of feels a little bit like that. A little bit. anyway.
Yeah, it takes a little bit off you, but if
Right.
you know, if it's an elite or something, it's going to be more noticeable. But
Yeah.
on just running around the world killing things, it's not really that big of a deal. So,
Right.
but yeah, no, it overall the spec it just feels better.
Cool.
I like the instant generator a lot. I think that's a really cool change, and I like not having full mobility because it sort of takes away some excuses for us to do a lot of the jobs that people have been expecting us to do.
You know, well, and
So-
we were, they were talking about class fantasy and all that kind of stuff. And if Marks is really supposed to be like the sniper spec, essentially, snipers are not really known for running around.
Right.
You know,
Exactly. If you're going to aim a shot, you probably should be standing still or something.
probably.
Oh,
Not
I
moving.
get it.
Yeah.
Aim shot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny how that works, right?
Hmm.
I know that other than so I was playing Survival Hunter with you guys, and then later I jumped in on my shaman and played Elemental for a couple of hours and was just leveling. Right?
How
So-
was that? How
Oh,
was that with the
oh
new
my-
Maelstrom system?
So the new Maelstrom system is great because you don't have to worry about mana. You're just casting essentially. There are a couple of things like Earthquake Totem is now the thing. It's all totems. Everything is totems, and all these totems are pretty short range. I mean, it's like 10, 15 seconds. But like if you want to lay down an Earthquake Totem, you can't just do it. You need 80 Maelstrom. And so you really got to build it up first to be able to use it. But yeah, it's really cool, and it plays similar to what it is now.
So is the rumor that it's not the rumor, but the claim that it would be more flexible a bit than kind of the previous playstyle has been, or at least this last expansion's playstyle? Does it feel more flexible, or is it just I'm mashing buttons and getting my Maelstrom back up again?
No, well, it feels like you can do whatever you want to. So that's pretty good. And I haven't played Ellie in a raids area, whatever, in a long time, but it feels really familiar still. So if they made changes, it was kind of like I almost didn't notice it, and I wasn't starving for doing something, you know. So it was good. It was not bad at all. So I was leveling up, and I got my artifact weapon and all this kind of stuff. And you go to the Maelstrom in game because that's where the class hall is. That class hall is amazing. It is so cool. It has got, you're like in this cave, and the waves are crashing all around you, and you've got these little places in the cave where there's a bunch of wind, and just all the elements are coming together in one place, and it's so cool and huge and all your own because nobody else goes there. Nobody else is going to be going to the Maelstrom. Come on. So, I mean, you know, it's so much different from the Hunter Lodge or the Warrior Place, or, you know, any of these other places, and it's just so shaman, and it's so cool. I was loving it. So that was really great.
What about the? Have you run the dungeons that were already in the alpha before you ran with us? Have you done any of that
Yes.
before?
So
okay.
I had done. I'm trying to remember if I did both of them. I think I just did one of them before I ran with you guys, and then
Because we were kind of handicapped whenever we were running. The one we literally had 4 people.
yes,
And then the other one we might as well had 4 people because the tank didn't even have an artifact.
well, the tank didn't know how to tank, and he didn't have his artifact weapon, and it was just like,
That was rough.
what are you doing without the artifact weapon? That's like the first thing you should do before you go into a dungeon. But
Yeah.
all right, it's okay. It's alpha. You know, people don't know exactly what's going on.
Alpha's gonna alpha.
That's right. And I hope to like check out enhancement as well later this week and see what that's all about. I'm not a huge enhancement guy, but you know, it's still cool. So, let's see. Anything else, Mick? I know that you didn't really get a chance to play the alpha this week.
No, my studio exploded over the past couple of weeks, so I've been busy farting around with audio cables and whatnot, and reformatting hard drives. But
oh god,
no, I plan on jumping in full force to explore the elemental shaman, which is what I played mostly in WoD, or have been playing mostly in WoD. I'm going to be getting back into raiding actually a little bit here with a new team here shortly, it sounds like. So, yeah, I'm interested because I think I'm still going to play Paladin still thinking that's going to be a thing, but I'm kind of interested in what these changes are for Elemental Shaman. I know a lot of folks are hopeful that Ellie would come back and be in a nice spot for this next expansion. So we'll see.
And it doesn't feel bad at all. I mean, it feels very comfortable. I mean, if you're used to the Ellie playstyle and you like it, I think that you'll find that it's just fine. I mean, the big problems are going to be like all your elementals. Those guys have a very fast time that they're available. So I think they're only there for like 10, 20 seconds maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're down. And that's the same way with all the totems now. So the totems are like the active thing. And with your talents, you can get more totems. And so you can just like throw down all these different totems and you can go, you can suck it. I just have all these totems at my disposal.
So check out my totems, y'all.
Right. And so you can have like 10 totems or whatever and just throw them down wherever. And so it's kind of neat. You just need to make sure that you have the Maelstrom resource for it. So
yeah. And I think that's the thing. My criticism of Elemental and WoD has been this kind of feeling very fixed and having to kind of make sure you're over managing what you're doing with when you're casting your spells and what. And so a hair of flexibility, which is what I was hoping would come to the table. I'm hoping that's there. So we'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see. I will let you know next time I'm on the show.
And I think it was pretty flexible. The only thing that was more inflexible were the totems and such. So,
but that's Shaman.
Yeah. And that's fine.
That's it.
That's fine.
The deal.
That's totally cool. And
it's like, I'm going to put my stick right here and I'm going to put another stick over here. You guys do your thing. And my sticks will shoot at the thing. We're good.
Yeah. And so, and they've got the new, a couple of cool talents in there too. So you can really kind of, play with it and see what's going on. It's cool. Now, earlier this week, or was it, it was earlier this week, I think. There was an announcement about the next ESPN of eSports. And Dairies, where did it come from?
It came from ESPN.
Yeah. So what's going on, Dairies?
So ESPN has created the ESPN of eSports, which everyone else over the last 10 years has said they're going to create. ESPN's been covering esports kind of off and on casually for the last couple years or so. They've been doing, the Dota 2, the international was on ESPN 2. ESPN 3 has had a bunch of stuff on it, but they're kind of going. They finally realized that there's a lot of money in this, and there's a lot of money to be made, and they're going full force into it. The exact same kind of coverage you would get from any other sport. In fact, at the top of the page, it's ahead. Well, it's not ahead anymore. It was the first day. It was ahead of NHL, which I thought was rather telling for hockey. But it's got everything you'd see with all the other ESPN's, the sections or whatever. It's got the Twitter accounts. It's got news. The latest thing today is they've got power rankings for the LCS. They've got interviews. They've got what are they called? Like articles about people.
Yep. They've got some interviews and stuff like that. Yeah. It's cool.
I would like to say though, just to point out though, if you go there and you look at the website and you look at and a lot of esports websites that cover what's going on, they kind of say like, hey, here's the games we focus on. A lot of it's League of Legends and Dota. But Hearthstone is right there, number 3 on their top games that they're covering, which I think puts Blizzard in a really good spot.
Yeah.
League and Dota are monsters in their machines, especially League when it comes to audience pull and bringing in people to watch. And then, of course, obviously the amount of money they put up in their prize packages for their tournaments and world championships. But to see that Hearthstone is right there just shows how quickly that game for Blizzard rose to become one of the competitive games out there for folks to watch and tune in and enjoy. And so I think the good news or the interesting news about the story for Blizzard is they're right there in the mix in terms of putting out games that people are still very interested in covering across the spectrum. And ESPN, who brought in a lot of talented writers, saw that right away and said, that's going to be in our top 3.
Well, and Hearthstone is a tier 1 esports. So, I mean, it's great to see that they're there. And I think that they definitely deserve to be. And Heroes is getting in there as well. And there's a lot of Heroes esports news as well, kind of coming down the pipe this last couple of weeks, especially. So, yeah, it's really cool to see ESPN jumping in the fray and saying, "Nope, we're here." And Colin Cowherd is like, he's like, damn.
Colin Cowherd has been banished, of course, to Fox Sports, which is
right.
but I mean, the relevancy is here, and I don't like to bring up Colin too much when I talk about esports.
Well,
it's just
nobody
giving
does.
that guy more cash, but yeah, I mean, it's definitely to say. I think somebody from I was reading a Los Angeles Times or maybe a Forbes article saying esports is having a moment, and that was the day that ESPN announced their vertical. And so I think this is the acknowledgement in that article from ESPN was that they knew that esports had come into its own when their esports devoted issue of the ESPN magazine was one of their highest selling issues that they had actually had. And that's when they realized there's something here that's more attractive to just hardcore gamers. There's more people casually coming in to tune in and watch this now than there was before. The more casual gamer, the more, the less try-hardy gamer, they're now starting to see the appeal of esports and getting into it. And the more and more live events that are produced at high quality that start popping up around the country and across, obviously Europe and Asia have their markets already. Here in the United States, the more that begins to happen, the more folks are going to want to just check out what's going on. And ESPN's like, we've got to put ourselves in the mix of that.
Yeah. They and they're right to do it. Absolutely. But let's take this and spin this back around on Activision Blizzard now, because Activision Blizzard, they have their esports division, and Bobby Kotick was saying, we want to be the next esports of we want to be the next ESPN of esports. So what kind of position does this put them in? Because they're not out yet. Obviously, they're just kind of forming it, right? So are they going to be a little? I mean, this is a very competitive space we're seeing.
Yeah, so. It's a competitive space, and I think it's tough now for Activision Blizzard, which has now pulled in a whole bunch of infrastructure through the MLG deal, and we don't know when that finalizes. We don't know when that actually becomes a part of the third division yet to be named at Activision Blizzard. So I think ESPN also doesn't know what they're doing in terms of they've got a website. We got a great website. We've got really great people who are writing articles and making videos for us. But Activision Blizzard and this new third division is still very mysterious because the esports team at Blizzard, which is also a dedicated esports team, is just chugging along business as usual with what they're already had in the pipeline. Yeah. So we don't know what this third entity is going to be, and their ability to become the ESPN of this when we already have an ESPN is really dependent on how good of a quality and how much quality and content they're going to be putting out when they finally start actually doing stuff. ESPN has an aggressive approach right now with the content they're pushing out, and they have the money to buy great talent to make content. Blizzard has also bought a lot of great talent. There just hasn't been any plan or any discussion as to what this is. And Blizzard, as the second half of the Activision Blizzard, seems to just be going, until someone tells us different, we're just going to keep doing what we've been doing.
Yeah. But I bet we know who they're going to be looking toward once they do start building their division. They're probably going to be looking to ESPN.
Right. And let's talk about like distribution, right? Yeah. I mean, Activision Blizzard is not limited by the fact that they have these established channels that they have to circulate their content on. They can do stuff with ESPN. They can do stuff with a network like ABC or CBS or NBC. Yeah. They can put out content for whoever they want to. They can put their own subscription pay-per-view service in an app on your iPad and say, we've got this service as well. That's cool. You can come watch stuff. Just like, WWE Network did with their $9.99 service. So there's a number, and that's a company too. We have a network. We also do content on other networks and cable channels. So there's a model for Blizzard to be able to do a lot of different things, whereas ESPN is already locked into the existing paths that they have and their own app. And the question mark is, what happens to ESPN on mobile platforms like an Apple TV or a Roku or an Xbox 360 when that ESPN app starts to actually circulate esports games as well? That's going to be interesting.
Sure. Well, and the other question is, how will ESPN really fare when a lot of the fight is held online? You know, I mean, how are they gonna change their pattern and to go away from maybe the cable channels and really try to use their web presence to be able to pull it all together? Because it seems like, to me anyway, that when I'm just using Heroes of the Dorm as the example. When Heroes of the Dorm was on, everybody was really happy with its performance. But its performance was kind of in the toilet as far as when you look at like actual Nielsen numbers and stuff, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that maybe TV is not the place for esports and for video gamers just in general, because we live online all the time.
I think this is going to be quite a shift in how ESPN covers things, because there's no way that Blizzard or Riot or Valve are going to relinquish full media rights to a company like ESPN. They realize there's way too much value in the video content, because that's how as gamers and people like us consume media. It's video. There are good articles out there, but we want to be able to watch it, and we want to be able to watch it on our devices on our time. And giving that stuff to ESPN I don't think that's going to happen. ESPN has this problem with the Olympics from NBC. They can't get video from the Olympics, so they show stills or they do little blurbs or things like that. And it's going to be, if they tried to do it on TV, it'd be the same thing here. I think they might get a few things like you saw the Heroes of the Dorm thing, but I think going forward, Blizzard's going to try to do that on their own, and they're going to show it online. You know, where people that would like to consume that are going to consume it.
Yeah.
It will be sports, but it will be sports catered to the audience, not esports being shoot into a sports model, which would have been the wrong way to do it, and which for a long time they tried to do, and it didn't work.
Right.
Right. Well, and the game studios have a really great opportunity at hand, because they can, if they so choose to, they don't have to license exclusively to anyone.
No.
They can license to whoever they want to. Just like the NFL, they don't exclusively broadcast on CBS. They broadcast on Fox and CBS and NBC. And also they have games available for rebroadcast on the NFL Network. So a company like Blizzard or a company like Valve can make a decision as to where they want to allow their games to be licensed on television. And already Valve is getting into the TBS mix. So I think that the Heroes of the Dorm last year was a good, hey, can you make a compelling TV presentation? Let's not worry about who showed up. Was it a good presentation?
Yeah.
Yes, it was a good presentation. Okay, we solved that problem, because as we all know, sometimes watching esports, a little bit rough. Sometimes not so compelling. So can we make a broadcast quality presentation where, the casters aren't, saying things like, ripped, the things that people don't understand when things are happening. And, can we create a presentation that Martha and Uncle Joe can sit down and be like, well, I think I get what's going on. But boy, this is some fun stuff. And so whether or not esports has had a time to properly shine on television, I think is still yet to be answered. And this year it will be, because I'm pretty sure ESPN is going to have a fairly significant esports presentation this year, not too far off in the future. And also TBS is going to be kicking off their presentation of their esports league, which is already going to be featuring CSGO. So we've got some cool stuff happening this year, and the audience needs to start showing and turn it up, because ultimately, if the money starts rolling in from ad revenue and obviously, the back and forth between licensing, eventually that money starts to make its way to the players. Mm-hmm. And the players need to be supported in a stronger way than they are today. Just like, hey, let's get these 6 dudes and throw them in a house and let's ship them to where they need to go to play in tournaments.
Right.
They need to have a better lifestyle that's going to be able to say, hey, after a year or two of this, can I have a 10-year career? Or, is this just the thing I did when I was young and I'm going to move on?
Everybody just tries to, right now, it's just everybody just tries to get their time in so that they can become an analyst or something like that. So
right, exactly.
So they can get a real job.
Yeah, to get a real job or work for a gaming company or something like that.
Yeah.
And you want this, if we're looking at these players to be similar to athletic competitors, then we want them to have the opportunity to have a lifestyle and a career that lasts longer than a couple of years on average.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it's just right now we're in such a Wild West mode for all of esports, because the leagues are weird. The players just aren't really handled well. It's just very, kind of imbalanced. a lot of the time. So it's a very strange time for esports for sure.
It's very, I mean, esports have been around for a long time, and competitive gaming has been around for a long time, but it's still very much in its infancy. It's figuring out what it is, where it belongs, how to fit into everything. And I think something like this, the ESPN starting to cover it, gives it much more legitimacy in the eyes of sponsors and companies that want to throw money at this. And this is where we're going to start seeing it evolve. Like Mick was saying, we're going to start seeing it evolve into its maturity and become, this much more legitimate career and things, something that people take seriously, more so than, see on TV once and laugh at it.
Right.
Yeah, to be the joke of the day on late night. But this is a sign, guys, that esports, literally, this is the big moment for esports right now. It may not seem like a lot, but the legitimacy that ESPN offers this as something people should take note of, this helps in a big way.
Right. And Dairies, your cat is amazing. This show has just been...
That cat looks pissed. I'm sorry, but
I love Red Sox. That's great. That's awesome. That's awesome. I think what we're going to do, because of timing and stuff like that, we will go into the BattleNet news in one moment as soon as I line everything up. Okay, there we go. The BattleNet news. This is where we're going to talk about
every time
everything else.
That graphic, just every time it's like boom, right, gets me pumped up.
Nice.
Such
Well,
good graphic.
We're going to talk about everything. We already kind of talked about Diablo, but Tovo, I kind of want to give you the chance to talk about Diablo and what's new and what you've experienced and what's going on with it, because we have a new season and there's a bunch of new stuff. So just go for it. You do you.
Yeah, so a lot of the new features that they added, I haven't even got to experience yet. There's for one, though, what happens is whenever you first make a character on your account, the first character you make, whenever you hit 70, you get 2 set pieces of a specific set that they determined before that, and then there are two other achievements you have to achieve before you get the other 2 pieces. So you get a 6-piece set relatively early whenever you hit level 70, which is a nice change because it kind of gets you into the flow. That was a lot of the problem. Some people would just play up to 70, or they would just play through the campaign once and then they'd call it a season, But so they're offering more rewards to sort of like keep that carrot on a stick throughout the entire experience, not just at the end game for the most hardcore players doing leaderboards and stuff. Along with that, they have set dungeons, which are whenever you've acquired all of the set of, there's multiple sets for each class, but whenever you acquire one of those sets, you can go into a specific dungeon that has all of these different achievements they want you to do while you're within the dungeon. So it'll be like, just for example, I don't know what all of them are, but if you're a leapquake barb, you have to use your leap ability like 6 times within a certain amount of time, and that qualifies as you achieve that. And once you've gone through the dungeon, not taken fatal damage, which in hardcore supposedly you're not supposed to die if you die in these set dungeons, because it's sort of a way to let you like just go off and do like weird achievements to finish it. But I've seen on Reddit that some people actually do die in these, so I don't be careful. But so at the end of completing the set dungeon and all the achievements within it, you get like special wings for your character, or I think right now it's only wings from what I was seeing. So that's cool. Those are brand new. You don't get any gear upgrades or anything. It's just cosmetic stuff, but it's a fun thing to do. And a lot of people like those wings. They're really cool looking. So that's a good reward. They have a couple new zones. They have Grey Hollow Island and Eternal Woods and Royal Quarters. The only thing I've experienced with those is just going into them when I was doing bounties and stuff like that. I didn't actually like go into the story mode and check everything out. A huge deal with all of the seasons so far leading up to this season was I guess you'd call it a mod or something that goes against. You can't use it. You're not supposed to use it. You're supposed to get banned if you use it. But there were 2 types of people that used this mod. There were people that used it and the people that bragged about not using it. So there was, and what it did is it put a lot of information on your UI, sort of like a WoW package of add-ons,
like a HUD almost.
Yeah, like weak ores and timers and outlines of bad things on the ground that you could easily see. But so because of the prevalence of that add-on, they've done a lot of improvements to the UI. They've added timers to specific abilities. They've extended the buff bar because it only went to a tiny amount of buffs, and you'd have like 20 buffs. And some of the buffs that you had, you really needed to see, especially in hardcore. So because some of it's like immunity, and they would just get pushed off of your screen, so you didn't actually know if you're still affected by it.
Okay.
And the HUD and everything that people were using was something that they felt like they almost needed. But now, since the UI changes, it really makes it just that much better to play. That was the major change for me.
Cool.
Was them adding the changes to the UI.
Right.
And there's like adventure mode changes. There's these things where you can augment your ancient items, and all that is just another way to basically get you to continue leveling the legendary gems, and because they consume them whenever you do this. So you need like a level 50 legendary gem to augment some of your things. So it's just another end game thing to keep you grinding, to keep the monotony of just the leaderboard farming and stuff from getting to you. And other than that, I mean, they have a couple new set changes and stuff, which isn't, you could, if you want to check all that stuff out, you can go to Diablo Fans, and they have a whole rundown of all of this stuff if you're looking to play this season. But another new thing is we got Dairies to play. That was really fun.
What?
Yeah.
I did?
Dairies was playing.
So that's a new thing to this season, right?
Yeah, right.
It's a new thing to the season.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I heard that there was some input lag for consoles and stuff like that going on with the latest patch. So just be careful if you're playing on a console, which is my favorite way to play, actually. My favorite way to play, Xbox. I love it. It's cool. And then we have more stuff in Hearthstone than we know what to do with. And let's talk a little bit, and you kind of touched on this, Mick, a little bit, was Genn Greymane.
For Hearthstone or for Heroes?
I'm sorry, for Heroes, not for Hearthstone.
Oh, okay, good. Oh, good.
Hearthstone, there's nothing. Hearthstone, Overwatch, I'm sorry if I misspoke. Hearthstone, Overwatch, they're not here. They're not. There's no news this week. But let's talk about Genn Greymane a little bit. You were saying that switching in and out was really tough.
Well, not tough. It's going to take some time for some players to get used to it, because the potential of Greymane is the back and forth of going in and out of melee and range. That's where the potential lies. Mm-hmm. Now, there are two different builds. You can go with a build that's going to accentuate his ranged abilities, so kind of accentuate the human side of Greymane. And then there's, of course, a build that's going to accentuate the melee side of things. Now, you can build one or two different ways, but your ability to manipulate yourself in and out, to engage and disengage, that's where I think the elite Greymane players are going to find their stride. We actually just covered him on episode 79 of Stormcast, which is going to be releasing the day that this podcast released. So if you want to check out our build, we actually had Forecourt Jester on the show, and we went through basically Greymane, and we talked about the kind of ranged oriented build and the melee oriented build. And so he's very unique. And I think he was probably the most understated hero to be unveiled at BlizzCon, because obviously everyone was like, "Look at Cho'Gall." Right. Now that we've had Cho'Gall for a while, everyone kind of understands what Cho'Gall's about. But when you look at a very unique hero, there's not going to be too many hybridized assassins, I think, in this game going forward. He's probably going to be the only one, and I think that he definitely needs help from a very solid tank for engages, and he definitely needs a solid support. But he can definitely wreck and kill, especially late game. He can be really, really, really strong.
Cool. And I know that that the Heroes guys just teased on Twitter that there are 2 more heroes coming, but you couldn't tell at all what they were talking about, because it was just hexagons with question marks inside of them.
Well, they played a little sounder for them. They played a little bit of dialogue from both characters. If you clicked on it, you got to hear their little dialogue. And so there's a female character, and then there's what sounds like a male character behind that. So a lot of people, not to tie back to I asked folks what they thought it was, and I suggested maybe one might be Medivh, maybe one might be, Valeria. I was thinking more WoW. Some people are thinking more Diablo themed. So it's going to be interesting to see which of the two land and when we get to hear about them.
Overwatch. It'll be all Overwatch characters, right? Right?
Yes. Probably not.
No, probably not for a while, right? Not. I mean, we're not going to see that until after it releases at some point.
Yeah, so. I don't think they want to cloud the waters. I don't think they want Overwatch to be touched in Heroes before players have had a chance to really fall in love with the characters in the live non-beta version of the game.
Sure. Well, and so Overwatch has come in spring, which could be, by June anyway. They'll be coming, and so maybe around that time we'll start to see those characters pop out as like a, hey, welcome, hey, here's Tracer, because Tracer is probably the most recognizable one immediately.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and so it's only going to be probably maybe 2 or 3 more months before you're actually able to play an Overwatch character in the game, and of course, as you mentioned, that'll be Tracer.
That's cool. That's cool. Also, the Heroes Global Championship events have been announced through fall. Right. And so now we're going to see Heroes of the Storm go in all sorts of different directions. There's a ton of tourneys going on. Holy crap.
Yeah. The global circuit is obviously going to match up the same regions that we saw going into the qualifiers for Heroes Championships this year in BlizzCon. Mm-hmm. So we're going to see obviously North America, we're going to see Europe, China, Korea, but then we're going to see the I would call the smaller regions like New Zealand, Australia, Southeast Asia, Taiwan. They're going to also get, in Latin America, they're also going to get an opportunity to send a team to the Spring Global Circuit Championships. So there's a lot of championships going out throughout the course. The actual Spring Circuit is going to happen in the first week of April, that first weekend. So all these teams are going to compete in their own regional tournaments to advance to this circuit. And of course, build points to be able to qualify for BlizzCon. So it's a big deal, but the $4 million prize package, that's a lot of dough on the table. Grand prize for just the global circuit, I think, is $500,000. And it's $100,000 for the winner of the NA North American regional. So that's going to actually be taking place in February, the back end of February in Los Angeles, California.
So we're starting to see a little bit more money being put into these tournaments and into the game just kind of in general. And that should be happening throughout, right? I mean, that's the way it should be, right? I mean, if we're going to talk about League of Legends, those guys are putting out these, they have huge bank, so they can do it. Yeah. And so now we're starting to see Heroes kind of build a little bit. How is Heroes doing, by the way? Because I know that when we talked going into the holiday break, you were hopeful about the MMR stuff. And I know that, it seemed like things were at least on the right track the way that they fixed it. But then after break, I heard some people kind of like, this may not be the best, but we understand it's a first step in a process.
Right.
So.
Well, the matchmaking changes, which are necessary, of course, they're ongoing. In fact, we just had changes that were released this week about how different pre-mades can get paired up in quick match and what are the restrictions now there. Trying to prevent like a team of single players matching up against a 5-player pre-made. Those are the things that they're trying to avoid as much as they possibly can. Matchmaking is still not fixed. There was kind of a big blow up with Chew, who's one of the best, or at least one of the most popular streamers for Heroes of the Storm, kind of quitting Heroes of the Storm a couple of weeks ago in a fit of frustration. So what's kind of happening is because matchmaking is not where it maybe particularly needs to be, especially at the high MMR Hero League spot, those players are getting very frustrated with a very stale meta to play in, and then also on top of that, continually finding ranked 1 players having to play with ranked 20 players or 15 players, and so it's just not. There's a problem. The problem is it's like a double-edged sword. There's not enough players to be ranking up that high to create the level of competition at that spectrum that there maybe needs to be. And therefore, the matchmaking is kind of being demonstrated to not perform as well as some people think it should. Okay. And because people keep talking about how matchmaking isn't right, players aren't coming to the game in the droves that they should be. So it's tough. And Blizzard has done some small changes, but the reality is their big phase 2 changes really do need to get kind of rolled out. We do need to see this new matchmaking engine in all of its glory. And we need to get on the move because there's going to be a lot of Heroes of the Storm, on Twitch and, potentially, who knows, it could be back on network television again this year. So you want the game to be in a place where players really feel like the game is great, the heroes are great. And I think if we can get through this matchmaking problem, the game is pretty much set after that.
Right. It'll be on ESPN or TBS or something like that. Who knows? But yeah, we're definitely. I'm still have hope for this fledgling game as it goes through. It's a fun game to play, that's for sure. So.
Yeah, it's a fun game, and there's millions of players playing it. It just needs to be. It's going through a real first year growth issue when it comes to this problem,
right?
Because no one complains about the heroes. People complain that there are too many maps now,
right?
But the criticism is the heroes are great, which is awesome. Or not the criticism?
Didn't they?
The praises.
They took out mines too, right?
Yeah, and they recently took out Haunted Mines because there was just a consistent problem with that getting too snowbally, and that's almost unfixable. Right. So Haunted Mines is out for a while, or maybe forever. We still need to see these matchmaking changes come into play. But the good news this week was, of course, the announcement of the global circuit and what that looks like. So a lot of Heroes players are now trying, and there's a lot of turmoil and turnover on the rosters, at least in the North American scene right now, and also in Europe and in China. So there's a lot of turnover on the rosters as people are trying to get set to take advantage of getting a chance to grab some of that cash.
Right. It's tough. It's a tough time. Getting away from games for just a moment, I want to mention this briefly, and then we can probably just kind of wrap up the show. But I wanted to put it at the end because not only do we have Activision Blizzard doing the eSports thing, doing all their different games, they also announced, late last year that they are going to be starting to do a TV and movie studio, right? So we have the Activision Blizzard Studios, and this week they actually named Stacey Sher as a co-president with Nick Van Dyke, who was from Disney. But Stacey Sher did a lot of the Quentin Tarantino movies and a bunch of different series and other movies as well. And so it seems like things are starting to build over in that area as well. I'm so psyched, dude.
Yeah.
I can't wait for it.
Not to jump in too quick here, but if you look at her IMDb credits, just go look at it. Obviously, there's all the Quentin Tarantino stuff there, but it's kind of diverse. I mean, she produced Garden State, she produced Reno 911. She's got a diversity in types of programming that she's done and projects that she's worked on. It hasn't just been Quentin stuff. No. So I think that brings this. What you then know is that the leadership has the ability to understand how different stories have to be told in different ways. And so a project that Call of Duty for that Activision has already announced they're going to do a Call of Duty project and a Skylanders project. Yep. Skylanders is going to be for kids, right? And Call of Duty hopefully clearly is for adults. So you have somebody here who, understands how these different stories can work and be compelling.
Yeah. And I'm just psyched, man. I just wanted to throw that in there. I don't know if you guys Tovo or Dairies, if you guys have thoughts on that at all. It's just nice to see this company kind of be a lot fuller, a lot more able to be independent and to tell the stories that they want to tell and to be an entertainment company instead of just like a gaming company.
Is this going to be the studio that is involved with telling the Overwatch story outside of the game? Do you think that's going to be a part of that?
I think that's
I'm excited to see
part
that.
of it. If it's not Overwatch, I think it would be this company because I think they were talking about that in some of the articles. So
Blizzard's always been really good at telling stories and narratives and things like that. So it's going to be awesome to see more of that. I think this is going to be really good.
Yeah, and just some of the lore stuff we saw from Overwatch at BlizzCon and the actual trailer, the cinematic trailer thing that they had with the kids and stuff. I'm really excited to see what they're going to do to tell all the stories and continue with that. So, sorry, Mick, what were you saying?
Well, I was going to say, we already know Warcraft's coming out in June, so we know that's happening. So, but what is the Blizzard title that you guys want to see, like out of the gate from a studio? If the studio decides to start, doing Blizzard-oriented movies or TV shows, we know we're going to get Warcraft. I'd like to see next.
Hold on 1 second. I had a little audio glitch happen. Of course, it happens. So, sorry, what was the question that you had, Mick?
My question, Pat, was this. We already know we're going to get World of Warcraft as a movie. That's happening. We know that's the story that Blizzard's first putting out in cinemas. Mm-hmm. But which one do you want to see next? StarCraft, Diablo? Which one do you guys want to see next out of the gate?
Ooh, man. Diablo's got some good story in it. And creepy creatures. So that could be kind of fun.
Diablo has a good story, but it's still a little shallow. And if they expanded on some of the cinematics and story that we've already seen, that could be really interesting. I never thought about, anything more from the Diablo universe, but I'd like that.
Well, hey man, they make movies out of short stories, so
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I was gonna say it sounds sad, but when you say the story's a little shallow, I'm like that makes it perfect for a
that's what I mean.
Presentation.
For a great action movie. I mean, that's what you need. You need just
Michael Bay
drive. Yeah, oh yeah, totally Michael Bay, the whole thing.
Oh yeah.
I don't know.
You would love to watch Diablo just smash through old church columns and stuff like that. That would be his thing.
Darius, do you have a thought?
I feel like Overwatch would be really good for this. It's already really prime. It's very cinematic as is. The original cinematic they gave us at BlizzCon last year was very, very good. I feel like there's a lot of story there that they could tell, and they kind of get to start fresh with Overwatch. And, with Diablo and Warcraft, even Hearthstone and Heroes, there's already story set. There's already lore and history and all this other kind of stuff. Overwatch, they can kind of go wherever they want and have a lot more creative freedom. And I think they'd make a great, movie or TV show or even just a short series online about it.
Right.
Yeah, and it feels like that's already a given. Like that has to be already in the works. I'm seeing all the lore. I don't know if you guys were at the lore panel and stuff for Overwatch at BlizzCon, but they had a lot of different concepts that they already sort of had fleshed out and were teasing. So it seems like that's something that's already.
Well, it seems like they built that thing as like a Marvel Universe type of thing, where they already thought about all the back history for what they were and now what they are. So it's really strange to hear him talk like that, but it makes sense because that's what you do when you're trying to tell a story, right? And I know that Draven Dresden in chat says Hearthstone, the TV series. That would probably be kind of weird, but that's all right. Be like, instead of poker matches, just do that. Wouldn't it be animated? I don't know. Anything else that you guys wanted to chat about? Because other than that, I mean, that's a lot of news this week that we went through, obviously. But yeah, that's about it. So unless you guys have anything else,
just a plea. Overwatch, please.
Please come back.
Just come back, Overwatch. We miss you.
I am lost without you.
Dude.
Me and Dairies aren't gonna be friends until Overwatch comes out.
Right.
I know. I had to play Diablo just to be friends with Tovo again. Or worse.
And that's sad.
Ah, yes, isn't it? And it's sad that it's the end of the show. But that's all right. Hey, Dairies, let's give a shout out to the guy that gave us a 5-star review this week. What do you say?
Got a really nice 5-star review, from a guy named Mike Stanley.
Aw, thanks, Mike. And of course, thanks to everybody who talks to us through YouTube and through rate us on Stitcher and stuff like that, and all that, all around the internets. Thank you very much. Anybody have a shout out this week?
I've got one. This is because we didn't do a show last week, so this is the week before for the Moose runs.
Yeah.
I had a bunch of people come and help last minute because there were still a lot of people on vacation or out, so we needed some people to help get some people some mooses. And I wanted to thank them. Primoc was one of them, and a few others. So thanks, guys. Thanks for helping out, and thanks for everybody that's helping out with the moose runs. Really, really appreciate it.
It's a cool deal, man. And if you guys are doing that in your community, thank you for doing that as well. Especially just kind of opening it up to your community and just saying, hey, you know what? You don't have a moose? Come on. We'll just go tackle this stuff right now, and we'll hammer this thing out. Get everybody their moose mounts before
Leases for everybody.
Nieces for the people. That is it. And if you guys want to join in on the conversations that we're having all around World of Warcraft and the other Blizzard games, let me tell you how to do that. But at first, I'm going to bail on this, and I'm going to play that music. There we go. Much better with the jazzy music, I think.
Where's my bourbon?
Yeah, I got one waiting for me later. No, all right, but please do feel free, join in on the conversations that we're having at any time. Don't forget discord.converttoraid.com, a new way that you can talk to us. And you can always email us at converttoraid@gmail.com. You can call us and leave comments and questions on our raid line, 612-787-RAID. That's 612-787-7243. You can follow us on Twitter at converttoraid, or even individually. Isn't that right, Dairies?
Yes, we have Pat Crane. He is at Pat Crane with a K. We have that's me, Dairies. That's
Yeah.
me. I'm at Board Mine.
And my show
We
notes are
have
screwed up, but go.
Mick, who is at Mick Montgomery,
Yeah.
and we have Tovo, who's I don't speak Spanish, so
You're
I don't-
fired.
at LOS_gaming.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh,
If you want to check
okay.
us out on YouTube, it's Line of Sight Show.
There we go. Anything else going on with you guys this week at all? I know that I'm going to try to stream a little bit more this week. I think.
I think after we log off here, we wanted to go check out the new zone because that's something we haven't done
it's
yet. We did
cool,
the
man.
dungeon, but yeah.
It's cool. It's very druidy. It's super
Very
druidy. Super druid. Cenarius is there. What?
Oh, I just wanted to say, I already said something about episode 79 of Stormcast, but
Yeah.
I just want to say episode 80,
Mhm.
which we haven't recorded yet, which is coming out soon, is going to be amazing.
Uh-oh.
Can't tell you why, but it's going to be.
Oh, boy.
Oh, boy.
Stormcast,
Oh,
episode
boy.
80. Look out for it coming soon. When do you record that?
We usually record on Monday nights at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time if you want to just join us live. That's when we usually record.
Cool.
But
Cool.
this is going to be a special not live presentation that's coming out.
Oh, a special not live presentation. Look at that. That's kind of neat. What was I saying? Oh yeah, I think I'm going to be streaming a little bit more this week. I think drinking and swearing might be coming back.
Uh-oh.
Which is interesting times. So be on the lookout for that. Now, make sure to also join the Bazubo Gawabo Nation by heading over to converttoraid.com. That's where we have all of our audios, all of our videos, all of the links for raiders out there, and so much more. It's all over at converttoraid.com. And if you're a part of the guild or you want to join the guild festivities going on for our 3-year anniversary, guild.converttoraid.com. Put it at the front like that. Look out, because we're fancy. For the live shows, you can always head over to converttoraid.com/live. We're also on iTunes, Google Play, live streaming on alphageekradio.com. And for those that want to listen live, for those guys that want to listen live through their mobile devices or Roku or whatever, the Convert to Raid podcast is produced and distributed by Signals Media. Make sure to check out all of our friends, like our friends here on the panel, over at signalsmedia.com as a part of the All-Star Network over there. And that is going to be it for the show. Thank you, guys. Thank you, fellas, for joining me tonight. Thank you in the chat room for hanging out with us. It's always fun and interesting seeing what you guys are talking about while we're talking about stuff. Yeah. And thank you guys at home. Please join in on the conversations that we're having. And we will see you next time. Thanks. 9 o'clock next week is when we do the live show, Tuesdays. That's right. And for all the guys at Convert to Raid, we'll see you next time. Bye-bye, everybody.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye. So much